I'm Rick Sprout from the Green Party, and first thing, I just want to tell a little story about how this came about. We met people in a woman from Corning about a month ago, and we learned about this extensive network through New York State of folks doing, Palestinian solidarity work, and we've been doing a number of things locally with different people, and so we jumped on the chance of bringing Laila here. We have a mailing list, and we show films and have discussions like this, and if you'd like to be part of that, sign the mailing list. The other thing that I want to say is that I don't know how many people saw the paper this morning, but there was an incident that took place at the YWCA with the cops and one of the residents, and it's created like a lot more controversy and discussion, and it was very heartening to see that the director of the YWCA recognized the fact that you're not supposed to call the cops in these instances. I think, well, in the Green Party, we anticipated this a little bit, and we put out a pamphlet called Safe Community, or whatever it's called. But it's out on the table, and it's 12 things you can do instead of calling the police. And it's very short, and we encourage everybody to take one. We're also, the Green Party is running candidates in a number of state elections, and two of the candidates, Holly Hawkins, governor, Mark Dunley, Attorney General, are coming to Binghamton in September 30th, I think it is. Right?
Yes.
And we're having a fundraiser. And if you want to come, we're all invited. And talk to that woman back there, Christine. The first thing we're going to do is have Jim Clune, who some of you may or may not know, who's a local peace and justice activist. And he's going to talk a little bit about, giving just an introduction about his trip to Hebron.
Hi, as Rick said, I've been a peace and justice advocate in the Binghamton area for quite a while, 3 or 4 decades actually. And I stay mostly in terms of disarmament activities and anti-war activities. And so I stayed away from the whole question of what was going on in Israel and Palestine for many, many years, until Operation Cast Lead, which when the Israeli government was bombing Gaza right about the time that Barack Obama was being inaugurated as president. So about 1.5 years later, I joined a group called Interfaith Peace Builders, which is an offshoot of Fellowship of Reconciliation, and we went and we visited Israel and Palestine in November of 2010. It was a very difficult trip. There were Christians and Jews in our group. There were no Muslims. I wish there had been. But for the Jewish people in this group, it was an eye-opener, and it was very difficult. We see difficult things, things that we don't want to hear about, because it implies a subtlety to the situation that and a horror to the situation that we shy away from, as we do from most questions of war and peace. Our group visited East Jerusalem. We visited Jenin. We visited a olive harvest, and we participated in an olive harvest up in the northern part near Jenin. We were in Ramallah. We saw one of the villages that is doing weekly demonstrations against the wall, and we weren't actually there on a Friday, but they go every Friday, and that's a flashpoint. We saw many places in Jerusalem. We visited the old city of Jerusalem. It was the most tense time that we had was in Hebron, because Hebron is one of the prime flashpoints and tense points for the whole situation. And this is the point at which my thinking started to shift from worrying about Israeli security to thinking about Palestinian human rights. A shift that I think we all need to make. But we got there, and the city is being taken over by Israeli settlers, and we saw things that rather shocking in terms of garbage being thrown out from the settlers, by the settlers into the street, the market street below. We saw throughout Israel and Palestine, we saw the wall, the segregated access roads, the takeover of homes, tear gas being lobbed into a refugee camp on our way to Jenin. It was just a very harsh scene. What I did come away from this trip was the intense and deep-seated nonviolent resistance of Palestinian people. Over and over, we had our prime educators were Jewish people who did had come to realization of what was going on. But what I saw with Palestinians is a deep commitment to nonviolence, and that I was very impressed with. At a kafia factory near Hebron.
In Hebron.
Pardon?
In Hebron.
In Hebron, yes. In fact, I have a kafia from there in my living room. So I am very. That's one thing I would like to come away from this with, is that the Palestinian people are a proud and a cultured and a gentle people who are very stubborn, and rightfully so, and their story needs to be heard, and we need to stand up for human rights, for Palestinian human rights. Thank you.
Okay, so Laila's going to come up with her friend, and her friend wasn't going to come, but I convinced her last night because she was telling me some of Laila's personal saintly qualities, and like so many other people in the social justice movement, Laila wouldn't mention them herself. So her friend is going to help with that as well. So come on up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your inviting, for your hospitality, and I'm happy to be between you. And I can tell you a little bit, something about Hebron and how's the situation in Hebron. Hebron, it's divided since Oslo by H1 and H2. H1, it's been under Palestinian control, but just in the paper they sign. In the paper, it's under Palestinian control because the Israeli military, they can go just in 1 minute or less than 1 minute to enter to the other side, and they can do what they want. The H2, it's under Israeli control, and H2, it's the old city, we said now, it's the old city, where we have 4 settlements, and the 4 settlement, they have only 500 settlers who's living in the old city, and they are protected by 2,000 soldiers. This is what we have in the old city. They took the main street for us, and we have just a little narrow street where we can use the tunnels to go, how to reach our mosque, or how we can use it for our shopping or to visit families or something like this. I mean, also again, they came again to our side, and they start to make the tour, the settlers tour. Every Saturday they have settlers tour, and they encourage a lot of people from outside the country, even they are not from settlement, and a lot of them, they are between them, many American between them, and they have 2 guides, one who speaks Hebrew and the other one he speaks English with the American people. But I mean, during the visiting, they mentioned in Hebron how Hebron it's belonged for them before, and how Palestinians they attacked them, how's the area they've been living there, and how again we kept them from the area, and how they want to fight until what they have, what they own before. And this is the problem. The problem, we never fighting them for their religion. We never had this problem. We had Christian, we have Jews, we are Muslim, we have people, maybe they don't have any religion, just in this way. We never against them because of their religion, because they are Jews. We are fighting the occupation, and it's something different. And when you said, sorry, I don't know what's your name.
Jim.
Yeah, Jan. When you said Palestine and Israel, I mean, it's by international law, Palestine, it's occupied land. And 48, it's belonged for Palestine. It's part of Palestine. It's not something different, what they said Israel. And how they agreed for 2 states. I'm sorry, even it's my land, I never say that's Israel, because it's belonged for people who is refugees now everywhere. They are kick them from their houses. They kill them. They steal some people, but they never can be like the law. It's never can be the same for the Israeli people. They have different law. The Palestinian who lives in 48, it's something different. Even if you ask me now, are you agree for 2 states? I can say no. You know why? Because I don't have land for my state. It's full of settlement. During Oslo, we have 72% of our land. Now we have only 22. Then it means, why you ask me about 2 states? Why you ask me to have peace? What kind of peace they want? They want to kick all of us outside, and they want to take the whole area. They came during the night like thieves, and they throw the people from their houses, and they demolish their houses. They came and they kidnapped the kids. What kind of peace we have? We don't have nothing, I'm sorry. We have nothing, and still, a lot of people, they compare between us and between the occupation, and it's something bad. There is no justice, there is no freedom, there is no peace. Even you are inside your home, you never feel you have peace. The soldiers, they can jump from the roof and they come to your house. They destroyed your life. But I'm sorry, there is nobody talk about how's the living, special in Hebron, how it's very hard. Nobody can imagine. You can be under pressure the whole time. 24 hours you can see the satellites, the soldiers in your face. They are forcing the people to move from there. People fighting for their living, but still very difficult for them to make their own living. It's very hard, and in the same time people, they said, Palestinians, they are terrorists. Look what they mention in the news. You never can see our news. You see always the Israeli news. We never want to kick them or to kill them, but we want to have our freedom. I'm not coming to America to looking for my freedom. I came here to talk about how we empower the women to be strong, how we can empower the women to be under the occupation to help for their families, and how they can make their own life or the living just what they need. Sorry, maybe for the day, not for the year or for month. We don't have jobs. Our husbands, most of them, they lost their job by the wall. The wall is built by American money. How's the hate built? By your taxes. You paid for them, and we got the pay from this. I cannot go to visit my other family in 48, what they call it Israel, and I cannot go without permission. I should apply for permission. And if I have blacklist, I never can go. The blacklist, it means if you are arrested before, or you have something with the security, Israeli security, it means you never can go to Israel. Work, visiting, what you have. Even if one of your family who has been in the prison, and then the whole family, they have to get punishment. And in the same time, they mention Palestinians, they are terrorists. Look, but we are not terrorists. We are just in peaceful way. We were resisting the occupation. Like us, our group of the women, we show our embroidery, our heritage. We still there. We still share our culture, giving people, if they come to Hebron, some food, sitting with them, cup of tea, show them the area. This is what we need. We need to be in our house. I want to feel I'm safe. I want to feel I'm in peace. I'm here for 2 months. Nobody asked me about my ID. But if I am in my country, every 5 minutes I have to stop. Why? Why I have to be like this? And the same time they said Palestinian, they are terrorists. We never be like this. We are fighting for our freedom, and one day we will have it. Just what we need now, people to help us for living, not to give us money. No, we know how to do our living, just to help us to how to continue to survive, to sell our stuff. Like us, we are big group of ladies. We are 150. Nobody imagine how the woman, she has to clean the house. She has to look after the children. She has to do everything in the same day, not in the same time, in the same day. She has to do the embroidery because she wants to help her family. This is the only way. Why our children, they have to be like homeless people in the street and they cannot do their own money? They can work, they can find job, they can do what they want, but they can finish their education. My 2 children, they left the school early. You know why? Because they want to help me, because I have other 4 girls, they are at the university and they want to work for little money to help me, and they left the school early. And now they are without job. Who will come to give them money? We just, what we need, look for us like we are human beings. And this is enough for me. Just, we are human beings. We are not animals. Really, we are not animals. But they treated us like animals in Israel, or what they said, the military, they treated us like animals. How you can believe if they came to your child and he's 5 years or 6 years, and they took him, they kidnapped him like this, and they said he throws stones. His child. Why the settlers, if they have children, and they throw garbage in our heads, in the soup, and bad water and everything? Why they cannot arrest them? Why they cannot detain them? Why nobody forces them to stop to do like this? Because you are neighbors. You have to respect them. I'm sorry. I want to tell you a little bit about our cooperative and how it started. It started in 2006 and it's called Women in Hebron. And we started because in that time we have very bad situation. And again, nobody can work. And the Israelis, they frozen the money for the PA. Even the workers in the PA, they cannot get paid. I mean the Palestinian Authority. Because just the salary, our salary, or the people who's working in the PA, they have to get paid by American money, or all the monies come from other countries, and Israelis, they have to agree for the money, how to enter to Palestine. If they stop the money, then nobody can get paid. And in that time, they cut the money for everybody, and we start the project from inside the houses, because again, our moms, they teach us how to do the embroidery, and it's something to independent yourself when you don't have job or anything. It's not easy to do it because it takes time. You focus by your eyes, your brain, everything, just to do the embroidery. You can see the stitch hearts very small later. And by the time we grow up, and now we are 150 women, we have big center, we are in fair trade, and we are looking, I came here with hope for people, maybe they can like our stuff and they can buy and they can support the other ladies. Even you don't believe, I am volunteer now. I left my house for 2 months just to help other ladies because they cannot have the chance to come like me and to talk with you how they do the embroidery and how much or how long it takes to do it, and how it's just small money. I know I hear from some it's expensive, but it's not expensive to work like 1 week for $30 or $40. And thank you very much.
and I want to add up to our Laila talk is for somebody in a long time ago, as I remember, I grew up in Jerusalem. I didn't grow up in the West Bank.
Could
So-
you stand close to the microphone always?
So I grew up in Jerusalem. I didn't grow up in the West Bank. So the difficulty Laila's talking about, I didn't face it as much as she's facing it. Like to go through checkpoint because I have an Israeli ID, it's easy for me to go through checkpoint. I could go to the West Bank. I could go to Nablus. I could go to any place in Palestine. I could go to Tel Aviv without any permission or permit, special permit. For somebody from the West Bank, they need a special permit to go from Ramallah, which is about 20 minutes or, I don't know, 15 minutes from Jerusalem, which Jerusalem is considered that I have an Israeli ID, I could go easily. I don't need any, to go in and out of Ramallah. I live here in the state. For her to come to the state to actually share her story, she has to go through Jordan. First of all, she has to get a permit from the Israeli government that she could go and apply for a visa in Tel Aviv, which she has to take a special permit. She take that permit, she got the visa, now she has to go to Jordan. Through Jordan, she has to come to the United States. I don't have to do that. I go straight from United States, I go straight to Binghamton Airport in Tel Aviv. I don't need to go to Jordan. I don't need a special permit or any of the difficulty. Long time ago, the women in Palestine, I don't do that. My sister did that, but they do the embroidery and they bring it as a gift to their husband family that to show off, this nice handmade, this embroidery and pillows. Now the woman is changing. The men cannot get a job because they don't have a permit to go work from Hebron to Jerusalem or to Tel Aviv. And what they're going to work? They're going to work as a construction, cleaning. So they're not going to work as with their, even if they're doctors or they're teachers, they cannot go work in a hospital if they don't have a special permit to work in an Israeli hospital. Even when I say Israeli hospital, half of the hospitals, they go Arab, different, Christians Arab and Muslims Arab. They go to that hospitals, but they cannot, if they're from the West Bank, they can't. Like even if a woman is pregnant or an emergency, she can't just go straight there. So the difficulty they're facing, it's shifting the whole thing. Now there are the women, they're the one responsible supporting their family. Even it's a dominated society by men, like in a lot of societies, but the men, he supports the family, the husbands, he supports his wife, his kids. Now the women, they actually support the family because they could know how to do this thing. A woman in her group, they could sit for a week, as Laila said, to do all the housework and the cleaning and the cooking, and besides she's got to go work in a pillow, because this pillow in the end of this week is going to give her $30 or $40 to her pocket. So Laila and her sister, by the help of one of the CPT, Diane Rowe, she's actually the one helped them to start this, the story, how to, make and help those Palestinian women. They started this, 2 of them. So they speak English, they get a visa, they take all the products and they go around the world and they sell the product. To be sitting like we're going on, tomorrow we're going to Chicago and we're only gonna go, we have an event from 1 to 3. We're gonna get there to Chicago and we're gonna leave at 9:30 at night and go back to New York, okay, which is about 17 hours in the same night. So we traveling 10 hours and coming back 17 hours. And I say to Laila, I said, you don't get tired? You don't, like, I like to help and do volunteer work, but how you have this energy? She said, when you see these women in the house, what they go through, like $1,000 could support a family of 6, just the basic, not fancy clothes or sneaker or like, brand name or something, just the main thing is food and, and food and water and just the basic clothes for one outfit for whatever, winter or the whole year. So they go through a lot to be able to have a life that considered as not really alive. Like Laila, her shop is, she's the only woman, by the way, in Hebron, in the old city. She has a shop. She's the only woman works in the whole souk. Souk is mean market. So her shop is the first one, and it's Women in Hebron. Right when you enter the souk, we encourage everybody when you go, don't be afraid, like, hey, I'm going to Hebron, that is something is going to be, you know, dangerous for me. Like when I went over the summer to Hebron, my family from Jerusalem, they said, don't go, don't take your kids there. You're American, and your kids might get hurt, and I said, I'm just going to try it. And I did warn my son. He's 15 years old. I warned him. He's a teenager. He's tall. He got a blonde hair. So I said, when you walk in, make sure your hand is out, because I heard story, if you actually have your hand in your pocket and a soldier looks at you and you just moved your hand out of your pocket, he might think you're gonna attack him with a whatever butter knife that you're gonna go against the gun with a butter knife. And this has been happening, that it's happened actually in Jerusalem in Damascus gates, right when you it's happened in front of my niece. She's 5 years old. She come home crying, and I say, what happened? And she said, a girl just got shot. The girl was just waving to the cab, and she got shot by soldiers, because they thought after the person gets shot and they lay on the floor, they come and put a knife. I have a small butter knife, and I'm gonna go and attack a soldier with a gun in it, and I'm not gonna attack him, because that's not the way of surviving. But these stories happen. They say, don't go to Hebron. There's a lot of dangers going on. I went to the Ibrahimi mosque, and everybody was like, make sure when you go in. I was shocked, because I used to go when I was a little girl with my mom, and I go visit the mosque, and it's like really fun to go. And then when I went, we're just through the checkpoint, and you can't go this and you can't go that, and all this paperwork. The story is in 1994 when Baruch Goldstein, he walks in first prayer. There's 5 prayers in Islam, as a Muslim to pray. The first one is before sunrise, when it's done. So he went before sunrise, and he shot 30 people in the mosque. 30 people. And then what is the solution to this? Oh, we gotta divide the mosque. This is your area, this is my area. Mm-hmm. I like to go to church and temple, but I like to visit them. I like to, know what's in the church, what's in the temple. But I want to go to the mosque, and I feel that I could just pray without feeling that I've been watched, because I'm going in to pray for God. I'm not going in to get a gun or whatever, to do something violent. And God never, in the history of whatever everybody believe, I don't think ever God say, do violent or kill people. There's a minority, and not a minority, but there's, what do you call terrorist? Okay, terrorist. Somebody could walk in right now, have nothing to do with Christian, Jewish, Muslim, somebody with no religion. They walk in and they could just start shooting us. In the news, they don't say a terrorist. They say a person just walked in and killed somebody. Shooting in the school, the same thing. They say a person just walked in, and like in where we live, like we hear shooting or stuff. In a school, who's going in a school to shoot kids? Not a religious person, not a person who believes in God. A person, he is a terrorist, and that's what is to me is terrorism. It's there's not related to a religion, to a race, to a color, to a person. If you see, like my daughter, they were in lockdown last year in the school. They do that drill. She was the only girl in the whole lockdown hiding under the table like everybody else, but she's wearing a headpiece. Some kids, they start screaming and saying, and if there is, I don't want to curse, but if there's a curse word, he said the F word, a Muslim walks in here, we are going to attack him. She got out of the drill, and then she called her dad. She said, Daddy, this is what happened. She was scared, because she's, like, you don't know what is these kids gonna get up and do, where they taught this language. This is, and he said, go straight to the principal and explain to him. That's never happened like this before, that somebody could say something. I said, if there's a nun, a Sikh, an Amish, a person with a special dress code, you don't call them terrorists, and nobody is he's crazy. He doesn't have a brain. He had a nervous breakdown. He had something to do, but it has nothing to do with the religion. So always the picture is, a lot of the stuff is, terrorists or this. These women, when they, some people, when they see Laila not here, like in a different area, like, oh, what are you doing in here? You're from Palestine, you're from Hebron, you're this. I don't come here to ask you for money. I come here to tell you about my organization. We're just a peace people. There's 150 women, we do embroidery, we do hand things, and we sell them to support our family. We have nothing to do with politics or religion or something. We're not against Jewish, we're not against Christian, we're not against atheists, we're not against anybody. We're just fighting to survive and be able to do these things. So Laila, I always say to her, you're very strong to do these things, because I could volunteer to help out, just, sometimes driving or set up an event or talk to somebody, but she's the one doing the traveling and sitting on the bus or on a train for 17 hours, or on a plane. She has to travel to Jordan. She has to get to Jordan a week before her plane leaves to the state. Jordan to Istanbul, and then Istanbul to the state. So she left Hebron a week before, because you might get to the checkpoint and they said you're not going into Jordan. So she paid for plane ticket. She lost her visa. She cannot go. So she went and camped in Jordan. She just went and sat on the border so she could get to the airport and take her. That's just the small things what people go through, and to us there's a lot of things easy. I could drive to the supermarket and get in and out. A daily life of a person, a Palestinian woman or a family. When you walk around, you just got to make sure that, and nobody's going to shoot me, I'm going to walk to the school, or I'm going to go buy some milk or something for my family. So you always just on alert what's around you. You shouldn't. Here, nobody asked her for ID. Actually, my mom, when she came to visit 3 years ago, she saw a police car. She said, stop, he's going to ask for. I said, Mom, he said, he's a soldier. I was like, no, he's not a soldier. We don't have soldiers walking around here. It's a police officer, and he might ask, for license, if I'm speeding, or if everything okay, but he's not going to ask for ID, and he's not going to shoot you, and he's not going to do anything to you. But it was very hard for my mom, an 85-year-old woman, to understand why there's no soldier. I was explaining to her, soldiers are not everywhere. We have soldiers, but it's just in the military, is in a special area. So it'll take a lot to explain to people where these come from. Like when I take my kids to Jerusalem, even Jerusalem, and they walking around, and I explained to them in the airport before we got to the state, to Binghamton, Tel Aviv. I said to them, if you see a soldier from far away, make sure your hand is out, because my parents everybody was scaring me. Don't let your kids to have their hand in their pocket, even in Jerusalem. So my youngest son, he said, Mommy, I thought it's safe and it's okay. You told us there's a different area if we walk in and there's a lot of soldiers. Like, he said they're not nice. I was like, no, they're not nice. Yes, they're doing their job, but what is their job? It's to stop you and harass you. They could take your purse and dump the whole thing on the floor. Everything is on the floor, and you're not allowed to pick it up. And you're not allowed. I was in Old City in the mosque praying, and I'm done my praying. I'm just walking around in the Dome of the Rock, just walking around and enjoying the sunrise and stuff. And from far away, not far away, I see settlers. And I know right away, but I was like, I went up to them and I said, what are you doing in here? Your temple is over there, right there. The wall, where's the Wailing Wall? That's what you're there. What are you doing here? And the soldier told me, if you don't back up, I'm going to shoot you. I said to him, I'm an American citizen. You can't, I'm not doing anything. I know I was thinking that I could just speak and say what I was thinking. He said, I don't care. You need to back up. And I was like, I'm just asking a question. What he's doing inside the mosque? This is where I remember I go to pray. He's not a tourist. There is a tourist. They go inside and they take pictures and, get to know the churches and all the historical area. He just going around with soldiers around him with gun. So it was very difficult for me. But when I see Laila and in Hebron, and what people go through, not just in Hebron, in the small villages of Palestine, there's a lot going on. Sometimes you could stay days with no water, you said.
Yeah.
Right, Laila?
Yeah, we have big problem with the water. Yeah.
They could stay.
Yeah, each month maybe they can give us a few hours, not more. And most of the villages, they don't have even for 3 months, 1 day. We have big problem for the water because they give the water to the settlement and they use it for agriculture and a lot of things, but they never can give it to us. Again, they want to make their life more hard, and we can leave our country by ourselves. We decide to leave if they make it hard. This is what they want from us, to make it harder and harder for us, and then I can say, I want to have a different life, or good life. I can travel to other country, or I can go for immigration or something, and if you apply for immigration, they make it very easy for you. They took your ID or your passport, and you never can go back. Just you can, like you are a tourist again in your country. You can be tourist in your country.
And that's what's for me. I left about I got married and I came here 23 years ago. I go now as a tourist. I don't have my Israeli ID. I walk around with my passport, and if they stop me and they don't see a visa on it, even as an American, you don't need a visa. But if they see you as a Palestinian or an Arab Palestinian, either Muslims or Christian, they could stop you and say to you, oh, you don't have a visa. I was like, no, this is an American passport. I don't need a visa to get that. Oh, no, I don't need a visa. But I can't buy state, I can't buy a house, I can't buy anything in there because I could only stay there for, I believe it's 3 months, maybe the most 6 months. But if I want to get my ID back, I have to live there for 2 years, and I have to, get a lawyer. And now with the new things they're doing is in Jerusalem, they make everybody to apply for a magnetic ID. It's the same ID we have, but it has a magnet on it that they could, with the satellites, they could know where you are, anywhere you are. And to apply, you need to wait. You need to have to go and whatever in their website, and it be a full year. Like if somebody from there, my niece, they want to go to Turkey, they need something called Sibase, which is a document they could leave Israel as there, and they could go to Turkey. So she couldn't go to Turkey, even she graduated, she couldn't go to Turkey to study because they gave her an appointment a year. So she lost. She got 95 in her diploma, which is like in the 12th grade, and then you could go and study in any university. University accept her, but she couldn't go because she doesn't have Sibase. So she lost a full year. So Laila, if you guys have any questions,
One
she would
thing I
like.
can say is, instead of she'll not make much in traveling, spending the money, air travel and all. Through Amazon or whatever they have, things like that, she can do it by mail, she can sell it. Or she comes only in big conventions here, because I know there is American Muslim Palestinian Conference or Islamic Circle of North America, Islamic Society of North America. She takes one booth, or she sells through websites like AmericansNew.org, Electronic Intifada, things like that. Because how much money she is spending in all this.
I could just answer a little bit for her, and then she could finish the answer. Women in Hebron, basically, they don't depend on the money they make from the embroidery. They don't use it for traveling to pay for a ticket or staying. Like today, we're staying in somebody's house, a friend's. People from the CBT, American people. They don't stay in hotels. They don't go to restaurant. They get invited by a lot of nice people, and very special that a lot of Christian people help them from all over the world. And Laila could speak more for that because they have a lot of organizations. So we don't like for her to pay for the ticket. She doesn't pay from the money she makes from there. Somebody volunteered. You say, I have a visa actually for you, and I just paid for this event. Or I'm going like to New York City. I said, hey Laila, could you give me a bag? I actually signed up for this event, and I'm donating my time, and I'm donating some of my money that I could afford. And I would go to that event and sell and give them the money. It's hard for them to do through Amazon. They do have a website, it's called Women in Hebron, but sometimes it's difficult for them to, it's better when they take the product and they speak, it's better to, it's a great way of actually making an earning and living and making a profit. But it's very difficult for them to do that if they don't have a lot of group of people. They send the emails, they say, hey, I have a day in like September or December, there's a holiday market here. There's a lot of group like Jewish Voice for Peace, they help them out, CPT, a lot of events. They don't actually pay for it. They literally do not pay for it. The volunteers who set these things, they pay for them. You want to add up to that, Laila? بقول هو يعني انتوا لما تشتغلوا ليش افضل على ويب سايت ما انك تيجوا وتدفعوا اشياء. Did I answer you?
Yeah, I know.
شكرا.
But thank you for your question, but I want to add something. Really, I know maybe I can have little chance to sell our products there, but I came here to show the people more what we are doing and how's the life in Hebron. At the same time, I'm sorry to tell you, I invited and some people they donate for my ticket, but I want to tell you for Islamic Center or something like this. I asked in Chicago many times, in Philly, and in New Jersey, in many places. I'm sorry to tell you, face to face, I never get help by Arab or Muslim people. The only people they helped me, Jewish Voice for Peace, Christian people, Jewish people. I did at the synagogue in Rochester. I did it inside the synagogue, and people I had lunch with them. I never believe I can sitting with them inside the synagogue because in our country I never in my dream it should be sitting in a synagogue. But they invited me, I gave the talk, and they bought stuff from me. I'm sorry again, I asked a lot of Arab and Muslim people to help me, but nobody helped me just to sell my stuff or to give talk. They never give me just 5 minutes chance to give little talk about what we do there. I don't know what's the answer, what's their answer, but I tried many times. It's not help. And my first visiting, it's covered by Jewish girl from Boston, and she covered 2 tickets for us and the whole trip for us by her school. And now sometimes between time,
in New York City.
yeah, between time to time, people they donate for the ticket and for the traveling, but I never use the money for the lady because it's not my money. It's money I have to give it back, and it's money people they are working to get their what they did back from what I say, and they are waiting for me to sell and to pay for them. We don't have money in our cooperative. Just what we sell we can have. If we don't have business, then we don't have salary. All of us, not only me or the ladies. From the last 3 months, it was very bad business for us. This is how I came. I tried to ask people to help me to come here to give my talk, and more people they can hear about women in Hebron. Again, there is not a lot of news you can hear from our side. You can hear the Israeli side. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Very
Yeah.
right, I know that.
I'm
But
sorry, we are
what
not.
I'm just telling is there are like 10,000 people in those kind of
They refuse
conventions.
to help me.
20,000.
They refused to take my stuff.
No, you.
I went to them. I went to 10,000 of villages. And they said, we have from Guatemala, it's cheaper things. What you have, it's expensive. But I told them it's big difference between what we do and what they do, and how in the way how we do it, and what kind of material, and how long it takes to make one piece. And I'm not coming here just to show. I'm coming here also to do business. And I know maybe people, they don't like the stuff, but they buy it because they want to support the other ladies and their job. This is how the people, they said, the 150 women, they survive from this money, and they are waiting for me to go back with some money to them. Thank you.
Hi. How do you think like the Palestinian Authority can like help women, not even women in Hebron, like just people like Palestinians in the West Bank, has the Palestinian Authority like leadership, have they helped you guys at all, like financially, help build the economy up at all?
We never got help by our Palestinian Authority. We never got help by them. Again, I'm sorry to tell you, we never had any help by them. But the only things what we need to build more things in our cooperative, but we ask about sometimes from organization outside our countries, or from we had help from British consulate. We had from Poland, we had from Belgium, and we have by American consulate. They help us during Christmas time to invited us.
They invite them.
In Jerusalem, an ambassador, and we sell our products. And this is how they gave me a chance to apply for my visa, and then I get it easy. And when the first question, why you want to go to America? Because I want to empower more women, how to be strong and how to independent in themselves, and they just give me the visa very easy. And this is what I need. I came here not for fun. Even you take me everywhere, I'm not looking for these things. I'm looking again to help other. Even I spent hard time here. I'm sorry, by the train, by the bus, by everything, but I want to help. What Allah, He gave me the chance to come. I want to help what I can help.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
About 6 years ago, I was able to go to Hebron, among other parts of the West Bank, and we met some young people in Hebron, some young men, I would guess, who were probably 18, 19, 20 years old, and they were forming some kind of a youth organization to help the young people sort of steer their energy in a positive way. I think later on, I met a couple of years ago, Issa Amaral, who was
with Youth and Settlement. Yes.
and I think maybe he was working with youth of about that same age, helping them in some way. I was wondering if you would know anything about what the young people are doing in Hebron these days, and what kind of work they're doing to help themselves and their families.
I can talk about the old city. Not a lot of young people, they are working. Many of them, they've been in the Israeli prison. Youth and settlement, they are doing something, it's belong for them. I never believe in that way. I believe to show my resistance just in a peaceful way. Not because I'm scared, but I believe to build peace between this young generation, and how to feel, how to teach your children when they are young. Maybe we can have one day, we have peace together. Don't fight them for their religion. Show them what they did before and what they still doing. behave from the problems little bit. Just, we want to help them to be alive, to be clear with you, to be alive. For the time it should be ready for doing something, because we are in hard time now. We don't have army, we don't have weapons, we don't have government. Our government, to be clear with you, it's decoration, just. It's decoration, it's nothing for me. I'm sorry, it's nothing for me, because they didn't do anything. They do something against our son. I'm sorry. But I don't want to go to this part of the things, but again, we want our children to be ready for later. How's the life it should be, for them when they grow up a little bit. Don't be in the prison. Don't go to the grave. Don't let them kill you. Go in this way, do this, behave from the problems now. We are not ready, we are tired, we are like, sometimes you become crazy what you feel if they came to your house and they took your son and they put him in prison. And my two sons, they've been arrested, one of them 3 times, the other one 5 times. And the first one, he was 15 when he was arrested by throwing stones. But when I went to the soldier, one of them, and I asked him, why you arrest my son? He said, he throws stones for me. I told him, look, he didn't do it. And if he did it for you, you have to understand, we are under occupation. And it's what he believed. This is his resistance. This is what he got from you. He against you because he feel you did something for him wrong. And he want to take his right. You don't have to do like this. You don't have to treat the children like animals. Like how most of the people in the old city, they are not working. They are not working. Believe me, they are at the street. They don't have hope. They don't have work. This is why a lot of them, they can go, maybe sometimes they are instead of soldiers and they got killed, or they being in prison or something. It's not easy to talk about this.
It's not easy for you, but for Americans it's very easy to say. What they are asking is, give me liberty or give me death. Americans understand that. That's what the Palestinians are asking. So it's we are failing you, because we are not able to talk. So we can't say how many hours of electricity you have every day.
In the West Bank, we have electricity. We don't have water. In Gaza, they don't have electricity. We are from West Bank. It's different between how they divide the West Bank and Gaza. Gaza, it's something else. Gaza, it's prison for people to be in Gaza. They never can leave their prison. But in our side, we had problem just with the water.
Last week, her daughter called her, and she said, Mommy, we don't have water. How long you don't have water? For 2 weeks. What do you need to do? So I said, Laila, what do you do this to? She said, I send her money, and then she go buy water. So, not water for the washer machine or the dishwasher, just to wash up and cook food with it. So they have to go and buy water and fill the tank with water so they could use water, which is basic thing for anybody, cleanliness and be able to drink water whenever you can, not 2 weeks, I didn't take a shower, I didn't wash the laundry, I didn't do this. But for Laila, I was speaking to her, and I was really upset. I was crying. I was like, your child called you and said there's no water in the house, and you're like, just go buy water. It's simple. She said, if I follow up with every little thing's happening, my kid's gonna go crazy when they can't have this and they can't have that. So it's something that it's like when my kids hear Laila speaking, and my kid's born here, they get up and they give her a hug, and they said it's very special to hear a Palestinian woman, a strong, leaving her house for 2 months now. In a couple days, she's going back on the 18th of September. So in 2 months, she's not, 2 of her grandchildren got born when she was here. She was on the phone all night with, one of them is her daughter and one of them his son, her son. His wife gave birth to, a boy. So she was all night on the phone worrying. I was like, why did you sleeping? I didn't know that. I was like, why are you not sleeping? She's like, I was up the whole night with my daughter and telling her what to do. She should be there, for that moment, but she's not there. So there's a lot of things going to make this happen, to come and do this stuff. And we would love encouragement from a lot of people. We are supporting you, not just as just a human being, as just a woman. They doing these things, Guatemala, Africa, anywhere. It's just like to make things more, just easier to live. Like we go buy a cake, she wouldn't eat the cake, so why not eating cake? I don't want to get used to the taste of this food. I never had cake, and I was shocked by that answer, because she's like, I get used. Hey, coffee, iced coffee, or whatever. Like, just hey, I'm gonna buy something, which is like very simple. What, $2 buy an iced coffee? I don't have that. This is $2 for me. It's like 8 shekels, which is 8 shekels. I could buy a kilo of tomato, which is about 2 pounds. 2 pounds and a little bit, 1 kilo, or cucumbers, and I could cook for my kids or feed my kids. That's how like just simple she could say it, and I look at it and I was like, that's just awful to not be able to do something. Just, hey, I just want to buy a cup of coffee, and it just feels okay. I'll just go spend $2. Oh, sorry.
I want to thank you for coming and having the courage and the strength to come here to tell us your story. It's very sad and painful to hear such things, that such things exist in the world still. And I wish people could help you, or the United Nations or other countries, and be able to help and give you the peace and the freedom and the things that you need. But I thank you, and I appreciate that you're willing to do this and go through all this to tell us what's happening.
Yes, thank you, but just I want to add something what you talk about. I'm not coming here to give me my freedom. What I need from American people is special, to come to the West Bank to see how's the reality of the life, especially in Hebron. Just stay one night and I can make your own food. I can give you my home to live in. Just come to see how's the life, and after when you go back to your country, you can tell the story, how's the life it's in Hebron.
Thank you.
This is like a loaded question, but what do you think would be like the best solution to like rebuild the economy in Hebron and the West Bank, and like in general to build the economy, like just to like the Palestinian people, for them to be able to build their lives, and like just like I think not to focus on the bad things, but be able to get like positive, and like I don't know if the government helps at all. Like I know like it's like you said, it's for show, and like they're very corrupt, like all governments. But would there be like, do you think there's a future that you can rebuild your economy and be prosperous beyond what's happening right now?
I think so. We have in the future we can have good things. It's the plan now to take the whole area in Hebron, and there is a plan to build the wall in the beginning of the old city. It means you never can reach your house. Just you have to give the number of your ID at the checkpoint, and then you can enter to your house.
It's a gated.
Yeah, they want, because we are surrounded by 4 settlement, and it's 2,000 soldiers. They are protected there. I don't have little hope like this in this few years to have something change. It should be worse for us. And about the business, I need people to use the Palestinian side when they come to Hebron, because they use the Israeli buses and they control them from where they can go, and they go to the mosque from the Israeli side and they go back from the Israeli side, and they never let them come to our side, because they don't want them to see what we have in our side. This is why I want to focus on the people, to encourage more people to come to Hebron, and then we have little change by the time, but not in this moment, I'm sorry.
I think it'd be great for more people like Darian and Jim and people visiting, tourism, solidarity tourism. But I think it's also really important to understand that the Israeli Defense Forces are training U.S. military, U.S. police forces in the United States, that almost every county in the United States has some ties with Israel. That we have politicians like Chuck Schumer, we have Cynthia Nixon who backtracked within 3 days about BDS and about the anti-Semitic remark. So American involvement, American politicians, American imperialism has to be changed at home, not by what people are doing in Palestine, because for some of us that heard the folks from Standing Rock, from some of us who talked with people from Ferguson, from Chiapas, from all the different areas in the country, it's all the same story, and it always comes back to the United States. And if we don't change things here in the United States, then we're going to have Palestine, we'll have another Puerto Rico, we'll have another Guatemala, Honduras, Philippines, and it'll go on and on and on until we change root and branch the structure in the United States. This will just continue. So I think one of the great things about them coming is telling their story, and it's also about the fact that they're presenting an alternative of what we can be doing and what other people can be doing too, in terms of starting cooperatives or starting alternative economics. But if we don't get rid of people like Chuck Schumer, you know, or people that support the military, the bombings in Yemen, you know, the continual perpetual war that our children have lived with for 20 years now, then it will be the same thing. And we can feel sorry, we can, you know, we should support as much as we can, but we have to change the system in the United States, or we're just going to have perpetual forever.
And I think one of the things that people don't realize, if I may jump off from that, I was in Hebron in 2015, and I was on the Palestinian side where you people are, and it was horrible. I mean, there were very few people in the streets at that time. There were military all over the place. There were what they call skunkmobiles out, and it was you want to talk about military, go to Palestine. I mean, there are these super highways that go out to the settlements, but if you're a Palestinian, you often can't get on them. And even as tourists and tourist bus, we were pulled off and we were made to get off the bus, I mean, interrogated. It was all very, very interesting and very frustrating. But one of the things I learned while I was there was about the fact that many U.S. police forces get training, I guess free, from the Palestinian military, the Military Defense Fund. And to me, I was like, a thing clicked in my mind because I thought about what we've been dealing with here with racial issues and the way police treat African American people is if they behave as if it's a military state here.
Exactly.
If you are black, you get shot first, and we'll discuss the matter later. And the behavior was so similar that's when I learned about this. I mean, one of the things I would fight for is to just refuse to allow people to, our police to be trained by military, because they become militaristic. They're no longer police. They're no longer keeping the peace. And I'm so glad that you have been treated so well, because not everybody who's Muslim has by the police in this country. And so I appreciate that for you on your behalf. But there's a real concern. You live under an occupation and you live in a real threatening environment, I think. And I'm very impressed, Laila, with your calmness. I guess we've been so lucky to not have to deal with those sorts of things.
Honestly, after the election, after Trump won, we live in a small village. There's about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people in it. My husband, he's a volunteer firefighter. 3 of my kids, 2 of my daughters and 1 of my sons, is a volunteer firefighter. We know the judge, we know the police, we know the chief of police, we know everybody. We actually built the whole town. After the election happened, I get comment of saying, go back home. And I get angry. And I said to this person, I said, this is my home, because home is where I build it. Jerusalem, yes, I was born there, but I came here and this is my home. I'm paying taxes. I'm actually paying your bills. You go into the, social service or whatever, DSS for some help, and you actually don't deserve the help because you have a full body and healthy. But if you're working and making $1 extra than the amount, they don't give you whatever. You don't go in the welfare system. So when I hear these comments, and my kids, in the last 3 years, they hear these comments. Say, go home, or take this rag off of your head. And something was, I never face it, and I never saw it. So I get really offensive when somebody say these things to me, because I said, this is my home, and if a person, a Sikh, an Amish, I always use that, because the way you dress, it does not actually make you different than you and me. There's appropriate, there's beaches, you could go nude on the beach. But I don't go to that beach. I can't go to the church with a miniskirt and very revealing clothes, because that's respect to the place of God. But I could go actually to a club, a non, or things like this. I start to explain to people, and I hear myself explaining so much about my background. I was like, I don't know why you treated me differently. You treat my kids differently. And I'm from here. This is my home. This is my place. This is where I live. And you're telling me that I need to go back home or things, but you can't. There's more of these language start to be coming up outside, like when you're in public, and it's very hurtful, because this is my place, this is my home. I never want to feel any difference. I like where I live. I like to walk around and feel somebody tell me you're hot. Yes, I do appreciate your concern. Yes, I'm really hot because it's 90 degrees outside. I really do appreciate that you're concerned about me. But are you saying to me that I'm oppressed, or I'm a background, or I'm like just, the way I dress, I just look different? No, I said I buy the same clothes as you. It's just longer and it's thinner. And that's the way some, God said to me to dress. Some Muslims, they don't dress this way. That doesn't mean I don't like them or they're not religious, because it's something between them and God, not between. I can't tell you the way to dress, so you cannot judge me of who I am or the way I dress or the way I think, unless I'm actually interfering with you and I'm threatening your life. And then you can tell me, yes, you are wrong the way you say these things.
Whichever city you live, you should inform the media, write letters to the editor, and speak to the churches, interfaith people, so that you get more support. And
that is true, but why as a black person or a Puerto Rican or of any kind of race or color, you have always to speak up and defend yourself in public about who I am?
Yeah, but
it's a good thing. I do speak, but when I speak, I said, this is me. My kid's friend, I don't like to use the word color or black, because they're human beings. God created them all. They create all the different colors. He created us. We born naked and we die naked. You are no different than me. You have whatever. You could go to a restaurant and have a meal of $100, and I could go have a sandwich of $5. They're both satisfied my body, and my body took what is in need, and doesn't need is get rid of it. It's either whatever it is. So you can't live as a Muslim or as an Arab or as a colored person always to just be on the lookout. Hey, I'm actually going to walk in this place and everybody's going to look at me differently because I'm this. Some of my kids don't get this. Like the boys don't get this when they walk in. The girls, they work. I mean, my daughter, she's tiny. She's 5'2". She wears the fighter, the suit. She's small, and she does these things, and I look at her and I was like, do you feel awkward? She has her headpiece on. She has her scarf on while she's doing that. But nobody treat her differently because they said, we protect you. Anybody comes near, these are from us. But when you go into public places, I call them uneducated people. The people who actually treat you differently, they're uneducated. they're not, I don't call them names, but they're uneducated people, so they cannot keep judging me, or I cannot be like, hey, I gotta do this and that. Felix, sorry, you had one question earlier?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to touch, I do think that it's important to acknowledge that the Israeli occupation is in line with U.S. interests. Our government has a vested interest in supporting Israel for the sake of these very practices of learning from these tactics that are put in place and teaching our police. Who I do also want to dispute the claim that the police don't exist for peace or keeping the peace. They exist for social control and the protection of property. And this problem is the problem with Israel and the problem with U.S. governance is something that we are inextricably tied to each other. The U.S. government is interested in this, arguably because as climate change gets worse, as the economy continues to collapse, they're interested in learning from the experiments of controlling a population as these things get worse at home. Like in moments of social rupture, during Ferguson, or during the anti-Trump inauguration, or during Standing Rock, we actively learn from what is happening against Palestinian people, or the government, not we. The government learns from them, and they exercise these things against us too. And so it's important for us to kind of learn, to acknowledge that and learn from that, and understand that resistance is not going to be a peaceful or easy solution in the years ahead. But yeah, I don't know.
I guess it's
if we do not have people around us that we can blame for our problems, we might start looking at ourselves and our government. We might have to look at somebody else.
يعني نطلع أشياء من شو بصير حوالينا، يعني كويس إن الناس تطلع على تكون مشاكل سوا. Laila, David said, do you need an answer before I get home?
When we go home, I can answer you.
Hey, one thing that's really going to help is if anybody here knows of a church group or a social group or a gift shop or anything, we can help do some consignment stuff, and there's some information. So, if you're working in a hospital volunteer, well, I don't know, whatever, but the bigger the network extends, the better to help out,
Thank you.
And get in touch with these guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you can go to have a look for my stuff. And I know some people maybe they don't need it, but you want to support the other ladies. Inshallah.
If we can have these kind of programs, so we should have them.
Well, if they reached out.
You know tomorrow is Friday.
You are staying here?
Yeah, we're staying here until tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, you're
And the other,
please.
yeah, I want to
Come.
I'll come around.
You want this too?
the amount Israel.
Can I hug you?
No, what I do is, because I use,
Christmas gifts, good. And it's heavy bags when I go by the train. They have to see if it's more than 50 pounds.
It's harder.
it's harder because she's going to Jordan, and then from Jordan,
It's not easy for $60 for 2 weeks.
It takes 2 weeks to make that.
It's full of embroidery, you see?
Right.
It's
That is
full
gorgeous.
and full. But again, we are using our time, we are using our hands, we are using everything just not to sit in the street, to begin in the street and you can say, give me money or help me. Yeah,
She's
she
10?
was 13, but she has the same body I mean, like this, and I've been arrested for 5 hours because I want to protect her. And in the middle of the night, they kicked both of us outside the police station because I told them this is a girl and she is scared by you. And I never, even her mom, she was there, but her mom, she was very scary. And my son at that time, he been in the prison. And I want to feel how they do with the children when they arrested them, and how he feels like I'm mom,
Right.
I'm mother, how I
Unbelievable.
feel when they took my aunt and they put him in prison.
Of course, it's super painful.
So with Andy?
I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think of the young woman that was in prison, became very famous? The young lady with the long hair?
You know, I can.
The slap the soldier, yeah.
Yeah, if, you know, I'm not, يعني,
What's her name? I was trying to remember.
Ahed.
Ahed.
I can just add a comment, like I can say we have like, I don't know how many, the numbers, prisoners in the prison, all of them they are Ahed. She gave chance because she's from village, and the village, her village, they have a lot of international, they show her story. But there is a lot of stories hidden, nobody look for it.
Of course.
There is more strong stories hidden, and they want people to talk about them. It's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much. You know, by the American taxes, we have they build the hate between us. They build the war. They build the army. They give weapons to children to kill us, and they don't have the right to do this. By international law, we are under occupation, and everybody knows it's occupied land.
This is the thing, but where are the countries? Where are the European countries? Nobody is helping.
Yeah,
What is going
because after the Holocaust, it's not our problem. It's not our hand who did the Holocaust. But people, they feel guilty about Jewish people, and they told them that's land without people. Go there and you can have that land, but that's land for people, and you kill the people and you took them.
Yes, we'll bring it. Yes.
Where did you leave it in?
واضربت كل الحافل على الأربع جنابه فراه يا الرابح دقيت الشبابه واضربت كل